Hi, my name is Dr. Vicki Alexander, and I want to give thanks to the Alameda County Public Health Department for information that needs to be publicized. They did a report published in July of 2010 indicating that this district, District 6, has the worst mortality rate of any of our districts. This is very important information. In looking at it a little closer, it's a very thick book. What jumps right out at you is the corridor 880. What happens along 880 and between 880 and 580 is our business. And what has happened there is issues of asthma are critical. Our children have the highest hospitalization rate because of asthma, have the highest ER rate because of asthma. Our people are also dying of cancer, partially related to this corridor. I would like, it came up in our discussion in the health committee, in the health section, I would like us to form a task force to look at what the city can do in terms of policies to change the emission rates of high-octane, terrible gasoline stuff along that corridor to improve the health of our people. I would be willing to help you with that task force.
Okay, I think that we can do that as a follow-up. Good point. And there have been other studies, and I think even the Dellum's Commission did a small task force, so we won't have to start from the beginning. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Abram, and I'm speaking as an African-American from the scattered African-American community, especially at the grassroots level, not speaking for all African-Americans, but speaking as one. And I'm saying that I hope that this committee or mayor's office and all of Oakland can make jobs a priority in our community, since we're suffering from double-digit unemployment, and we want to just get food, clothing, and shelter. So many of our people are without shelter now, and it's too many homeless people. We should make homelessness a priority, since they say Oakland is a holy city. Well, it would be more holy in this lovely city if our people, many people across the board, veterans, African Americans, all people who are homeless could have a permanent place to stay and a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Andrea Youngdahl still here? Okay, Andrea Youngdahl is our Human Service Coordinator. We just had a national conference here in Oakland. The sad thing is that Oakland actually, for the first time in a decade, brought homelessness down by about 15%. And now the federal cuts could pretty much dump hundreds of people. Between the state cuts and the federal cuts could dump hundreds of people out on the street. They're cutting general assistance that people use for rent. They're cutting in-home services for seniors who can't live at home without assistance, et cetera. So I gotta tell you, the main work I'm doing now is just not to make sure everything gets worse, but it's definitely something we're working on. There is a homeless task force. If that's something you're interested in, you should put a little star and a note by your name when you signed in, and we will put you in touch with other people. I'm going to do one of the questions that came from the floor in between before we call the next speaker. We have two questions here on foreclosures. What is Oakland doing to keep the foreclosed properties from affecting the neighborhoods, and what are we doing to mitigate generally the foreclosure disaster? It's beginning numerically to even out, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. One of the reasons why we made such deep cuts last year is there were about 3,000 foreclosed homes, and as they sell, almost all of them go at a lower price. That brought our property taxes down for the first time in recorded history. No one could find a time when property taxes went down except for last year, and what that meant for Oakland was $26 million. So that's why last year's cuts were so bad that we even laid off cops, is that because we had $26 million less in property taxes. So we're doing a couple things. I am looking at pulling together the local banks to have a heart-to-heart discussion of why they make it easier for speculators to buy foreclosed homes than they do regular working-class people. Secondly, we do have an ordinance that help write, but we don't have enough people to enforce. You can help us by letting us know if there are foreclosed homes in your neighborhood that don't have a bright form on the front door or window that say where the property manager is. It has to be somebody within a half an hour distance that is maintaining that foreclosed home. When I was walking door to door, I noticed about half of the foreclosed homes did not seem to have that. We can fine those companies both for not registering and for not maintaining the property. So all of you can help us on that point. So I'm going to leave it there and go to the next speaker. Ma'am, next speaker.
Oh, sorry. Hi. My name is Donna Glover. I've lived my entire life on 1400 block of 66th Avenue. And I just want to say, one, thank you for having this community involvement meeting. I love seeing the diversity and the interest, especially for the young people, because all of this will benefit you. And hopefully that you will want to stay in this community. I'm very passionate about how Oakland is portrayed in the media. I love this city. It's got everything going for it, but I'm tired of its warts being blown to smithereens. Discovery Channel, Santa Rita Jail, Oakland's jail, how dare you, okay? There must be some sort of accountability of how our city is portrayed in the media. That takes away dollars, that keeps people away, it keeps travel away. We need a decent convention center. And please fix lower 66th Avenue. I can't afford any more tires. Okay.
Okay, where's Public Works? Public Works. Is the Public Works rec still here? Please take a look at 66 on your way home. Let me answer that really quickly. We have had, is Sue Piper still in the house? The person with red hair who was here earlier, she's helped me pull together a group of PR and public information officers from all the big corporations in Oakland and the public relations firms in Oakland, and also the museum, the Chabot Space and Science Center, and the zoo. We have about 25 people who are now working on how do we change the image of the city. But I need your help also on this. I have to tell you, I had the Chronicle editorial board in the other day, because I'm trying to do editorial board meetings. I have to tell you, I have not said no to a single media interview since I've been elected. So I've done everything from PBS McNeil-Lehrer report to the Skyline High School paper, and I do probably a major interview with Chinese papers in China over Skype every week, at least one, and a whole bunch of interviews with the East Coast. So I know that just by becoming mayor, it gave people a little different startled look, I think, because they don't realize how diverse Oakland is, that anybody could be mayor of the city. It doesn't have to be black, white, could be Cambodian, whatever. We are a very fair city. And I had a little heart-to-heart talk with them, you know, and you're not supposed to do, Mark Twain says you don't start fights with people who buy printing ink by the barrel. I guess this case it would be bloggers too, people who have lots of blogging space. But I told them that, because they immediately started asking me, and that's the last question I'm going to read, about the fight over the gang injunctions and then the perceived fight between the city attorney and myself. And let me just say, I didn't start that fight. I'm not talking about that fight with the media. Sometimes I had to answer questions. And I said to them, that's less than 1% of my time. I'm doing huge things for jobs. I'm meeting with the Chinese merchants to get them invested in the port tomorrow. We've been having town hall meetings. And the Chronicle pretty much ignores any good news. And sometimes I make a joke. I'd like them to have at least one columnist that likes the city. But, I would nominate Brenda Payton. And I said, you're doing it here too. I invite you to come and talk about Oakland, and you want to make an issue out of maybe one disagreement within the city and not look at the city as a whole. So I think people who read the Chronicle and people who listen to media need to push back to them too, because they actually do care. And often we just sort of whine about it, but we don't push back. So I'm taking a risk of pushing back with the media and meeting with them when I think they've been unfair to the city, whatever. But I could use people's help. I could use when there's something unfair or unbalanced in the city, or they don't cover anything good. I think you need to write directly to the editorial board of the Chronicles, of the Trib, etc. I mean, the thing I was most annoyed about is they think that people were stupid and that my election was a fluke. And, that we didn't know what we were doing with ranked choice voting. And I kept on saying, the man keeps on saying he might have had the highest number of votes, but It was only 33%. Never was more than 33%. And obviously 2/3 of the people disagreed. And that we're not stupid and we didn't misunderstand ranked choice voting. And, you know, and it's a better, I said, yours the city that piloted ranked choice voting. And I pointed out to them that in a city that's been most very liberal, but also was the beginning of the Chinese Exclusion Act and some of the ugliest racism against Chinese Americans, had no elected Asian representatives on the board of supervisors until they had ranked choice voting. All of the Asian Americans who were on the board of supervisors had been appointed. And that was what happened when we went to district elections in Oakland. African Americans and women became the majority when we went to district elections versus when we went to citywide. And I think those kinds of reforms that have more people vote, but I go way too long. I'm sorry, you can tell that's a touchy point. The point is that they don't treat Oakland with the same eye. They've been doing ranked choice voting in San Francisco for much longer than us, and they don't think they're stupid. They just think we're stupid. So, you know, I think we have to, as a city, sometimes stand up for ourselves and let them know that we're actually paying attention, and we don't like how we're covered. Next person.
Good afternoon, Mayor Quan. My name is Ms. Sherry. I'm here for 2 reasons. One is about the blight in this area. I would like to make a recommendation that you use our incredible resource, our retired seniors, to monitor blight properties so we can start collecting the $1,000 per day for blight properties from the banks, and that we take care of the community where we live. I also would like for you to see if we can put more pressure on the banks around the foreclosure issue. The thing is that where I live at, the foreclosure is incredible, and it's affecting the children as well as the adults on the block, and it affects the people who are being moved out. The third thing I'd like to see is, if possible, for us to move to help ex-offenders have some stable form of housing. The thing is, if you have people who don't have a place to stay, they're going to knock you in the head. Take your money and get them a hotel room or whatever else they have to do. But the thing is, if we give them a place to stay,
Okay.
Help them to get stabilized, places like Allen Temple, other places, and help them to connect with those resources, then maybe we can help them get jobs. Then we'll stop some of the violence and bring businesses back into the community.
Okay. Thank you. The people in line, or whoever's the last person in line, raise your hand. Last person in line, you're the last person, because we've got to get on to the drawing for the kids, and there are 2 more announcements. Chris Dobbins needs to make an announcement. So I'm going to take one more question from the card, and then we'll go back to the line. Actually, I think we just did this. This was also about police. How do we hire more police? So first of all, what I said earlier is, first of all, we have to get the kids to have a better relationship with police so more of them apply. And then secondly, we need to get people who are really interested to start working in the Cadet and the Explorer program and the Reserve program, and to take classes at Merritt College in law so that we can give them extra credit and extra points when they apply. Okay, so last 4 people, and please keep it to a minute so we can get on.